Thanks for joining, everybody. This series is presented by Certiverse. If you're not yet familiar with us, we are an all-in-one, end-to-end online exam development and delivery platform. Our award-winning technology is designed to make every step of creating and administering a test more efficient, more inclusive, and more cost-effective. So we'd love to tell you more about that and how we do that. So just let us know after the webinar or visit certiverse.com to schedule a time to talk. Our goal is to keep this presentation to about a half an hour, and we're going to cover a lot of ground. So we're going to ask that you put any questions you may have in the Q&A section, either directed to everyone, or you can just direct it to the hosts and the panelists if you'd rather be anonymous, and then we can address them as we go. And with that, let's get started. So we'll start with some introductions. I'll be your moderator today, but I'll also be one of the panelists, so I'll jump in and answer some of these questions as well. My name is Abby. Some of you know me as Abby Eston. Some of you know me as my married name, Abby Attieh. So I have both on here, Abby Eston Attieh. I'm the VP of Certification here at Certiverse. I've had, I think, over 20 years now, maybe, or close to. Nearly 20 years of experience in the industry with certification programs. I've worked both on the vendor side and on the client side, worked with a lot of different tools. So we are excited today to talk to you about, are you ready for self-service? And with that, I'll turn it over to Joe. You can introduce yourself. Go for it, Joe.
Hey, hi, everyone. I'm Joe Cannata. I'm Certification Director at Kinaxis. Kinaxis is an Ottawa-based company, SaaS company that sells an enterprise supply chain platform. I'm coming up on 9 years there. I'm based in Atlanta, and I was hired to architect and roll out the program that we
And
have currently.
Joe, I will make a quick note. Kinaxis is not a Certiverse client, so we asked Joe to join us today to talk about his experience in the industry. Bailey?
Thank you, Abby. Hi, everyone. My name is Bailey Smith. I am the Director of Customer Success here at Certiverse. Much like the others on the panel, I have about 10 years in the industry, mainly focusing with client success and just supporting programs from start to finish. I look forward to the conversation, so it's good to see everyone.
And we can get started with our first question. We seeded this presentation with some questions that we thought would be interesting to cover. But again, feel free to put any question that you have in the chat. We hope this to be conversational, so definitely feel free to give us your input. So our first question here is, where do test sponsors encounter the most delays during the exam development or even the exam administration process? Joe, why don't we start with you, since you are a test sponsor, and so maybe you have some feedback on this.
Sure. Yeah, having managed several different programs, one of the first places I experienced a delay is trying to round up SMEs to get the exams built. So I'm sure everybody has that problem. So once I get past that hurdle, and we go through the exam development process, it's at the point where we need to get the exam published by whatever or whichever test delivery provider we are using. And generally that's a long process. It's not something where I can do it myself. The current platform I use now, I do self-publish, but when I've had to rely on somebody else, you're a slave to their schedule. You go through the long QA. If there's a problem, you go through the QA cycle again, you go on the ride around the loop one more time. And sometimes something that was correct the first time is now broken in the QA because of the QA process. And then once the exam is published, there may be a fee to get it republished, even if one letter has to be changed. So that's very frustrating.
And do you think that's simply because of access to the platform, or is it something else with just the change process?
Probably both. Access to the platform because of the way the test is published. depending on the vendor, it has to be produced in a test development language. So that is something that the vendor holds close to the vest and don't make available. Whereas in my current environment, I have the item bank, I publish the test, as long as I'm well trained on the process, no issue. And if I need to republish it or make a correction, I can do that.
Well, that's a good point as well, because then you have, if you're using a platform that doesn't require moving data from, let's say, an item bank to a test delivery engine, that cuts down on that time as well, and allows for easier self-service then also, because that cuts down the QA time, right?
Right. Yeah. Especially when there's graphical exhibits or even text exhibits. I have ownership of those as well. They don't have to follow a specific dimension restriction that I can go, that some some platforms require. So I have a little more freedom and autonomy in that regard.
Yeah. And you brought up a good point about having to pay a publishing fee if if you find something wrong and then you need to republish again, for a typo or something like that. Yeah, self-service, definitely you benefit if you can just make that change yourself and run through the exam and double check it yourself, set it to be published and out there. Bailey, any input on that?
Yeah, I
Any
think
other
it's
places that you find
I think it's a good
friction?
point when you talk about republishing and any fees. Historically speaking, when I talk to test sponsors, there's a lot of delays with budget constraints, specifically around item writing. If they have to bring in a group of SMEs to a location to get everything done, unexpected changes can really increase the budget and delay things if it has to go back through any type of procurement, things of the like. So, I agree with both you and Joe. There's the unexpected can definitely cause delays, especially when you can't make those changes yourself in a self-service platform.
Okay. Let's move to the next question. So how can self-service features empower test sponsors to reach their program's full potential? Joe, let's start with you again as the test sponsor on the panel.
Again, freedom of creation. The fact that I control the test, I always had control over the content, regardless of who the delivery platform was. But getting the exams built and out a lot faster gets them in the hands of the people that need to consume them, and looks good for our program. If we have 6 to 8 month lead times, for example, and I'm not saying I had a vendor that did that, but if we had versus 6 weeks or 2 weeks, it makes a big difference in time to market, because I consider exams as product. It's a reflection of the company. It's also kind of like a commercial for the company too, but it's product. It has to meet standards of branding, good grammar, composition, etc., and be something the company would be proud of. So the quicker we can get the product to market, the better it is for us.
And that encompasses a lot, the getting the product to market, because that's in all pieces. That's in everything from the JTA process to the item writing and review and translations, whatever else you have to do, exam building. Those are all good points, because it's not just about being able to make a change to an existing exam. It's everything that leads up to that point, which again, those are the positives about a self-service tool, is being able to go in there and access and do things yourself, not waiting on others. How about things like the efficiency of the tool to help you develop those questions faster, or more streamlined workflows to have your SMEs reviewing those things and that type of those types of things?
Yeah, and now we're not using any technology like that now, but I would love to get my hands on something like that.
Yeah.
Anything to help the SMEs build questions, because at some point I've seen it happen. People hit the wall and they are running out of ideas. They're trying to squeeze 25 cents out of a nickel, and it just doesn't happen. They're tasked with writing 8 questions on a particular subject, and they've gone through all the tricks of using variants, isomorphs, anything, matching, just anything they could try, and the content just isn't there. So some automated tool would definitely help and improve the quality.
And then that all leads into getting to market faster so that you can
Yes.
realize revenues sooner. And, like you said, it's a commercial for the organization too. So you want that out there. You want it looking good. You want it efficient and well built. Bailey, any input that you want to add on that one?
Yeah, I really would like to focus on the word empower. I think what I hear again from clients who are moving from other vendors, specifically over to Certiverse, is they are empowered to dictate their schedule. So if they are working with vendors, they have to allow in timelines for any type of QA. They have to add in timelines for publishing, any changes that may occur, just preparation. And with self-service, all of the features being readily available, they can shorten the timeline as small as they want, or they can extend it based on, again, budget or resources. So I really think that's a really good piece to cover just when you think about your program's full potential, how you're going to go to market and how fast you want to do so.
That's a good point too, Bailey, is that it's not just about doing things faster all the time. Sometimes, it's about having control of your timeline, right? So if there's parts of the development cycle that you want to be able to speed up, you can do that. Or if it's releasing an exam or publishing an exam earlier or later, or being able to define that yourself without having to go through a change process with a vendor. And it's the test sponsor's exam. So why is the vendor having to do those things for you? So it's about flexibility and control as much as it is about speeding up the process. So it's not always just about getting to market faster. That's a good point.
There's a question directed in the chat to me about QTI in my experience. QTI is one of the test publishing formats, one that I had used. And I did find it limiting because under QTI, I could only do multiple choice and matching. Whereas with other platforms, I had the ability to do fancier item types. I'm not talking about DOMC or anything like that, but for instance, instead of fill in the blank, we could do a drop-down box, and there would be 4 options there, and could put multiple ones of those in a question, or hotspots, or things like that. Actually, I guess we could use hotspots with QTI too, but the flexibility in what I can do with the item improves the quality of the exam, and you just don't get the long litany of choose 1, or choose 2 of 4, or 3 of 5.
Mm-hmm. So for those who didn't, because this was an anonymous submitted question, I'm not sure if ever all of the attendees can see it, but the question is, one of the larger challenges I've seen in relation to exam publishing is the data format. Support for QTI isn't standardized in the industry, and that affects item writing, item type selection, and efficiency for publishing pretty significantly. Interested in hearing about Joe's experience and as well as anything else that we have to say about it. So yeah, that's a good point. And as Joe pointed out, it can be flexible, but it can also be limiting. And as the person who asked the question pointed out, it's not always standardized. So maybe an important thing is, it's hard to, QTI is meant to be able to easily move around, right? It's a language that is supposed to be, allow you to move your items somewhere else, take them from one item bank and move them somewhere else. But since it's not standardized, that's also an issue sometimes.
Yeah. In theory, I can speak from experience. If porting exams from one platform to another was basically manual, hand-to-hand combat.
And that actually that goes to the response that the person submitted after that and says, thanks, Joe. It also seems to be implemented inconsistently between vendors, which also creates translation issues. And yeah, that's the point we were just discussing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. Okay. So our next question here, which programs are best suited to self-service tools? We could just say a simple all programs, but but that's not necessarily true. So Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, yes, all programs for sure, but those programs that have established personnel running them that are experienced would be more comfortable working with self-service tools than, let's say, someone getting into the certification game for the first time. It's their first program. It's the company's first certification. They want to make sure everything is right, so they want probably as much help as possible. And self-service would come down the road. But being able to do things yourself on your schedule, at your pace, definitely would be a plus. So the more established programs, they don't have to be large, small, medium. As long as the person or people running the program are comfortable with using the tools, they would benefit.
And so what about you mentioned programs that maybe are starting up and they don't have the personnel that are experienced in the industry. But what if there's a pretty robust training program, or you have access to self-training or self-paced training? Or Bailey, you can speak to this because I mean that's really the role of the customer success team here at Certiverse, but also within other organizations that have self-service tools. I know there's other industry tools that have those that are self-service and have customer success managers that are there to help you. What's your take on this?
Yeah, I definitely think any program is suited for self-service. So, like Joe mentioned, those programs that, are seasoned and have gone through the process time and time again, it's more so just learning the button clicks. So they're going to have a great time with it. They can look at documentation, they can move through. Again, they're going to have a dedicated customer success manager at
Yeah.
Certiverse specifically to help them with any questions. But even those that are brand new programs where they don't know what a JTA is, they don't know where to begin. We have that documentation in place to really train programs on what is, I would say, industry standard and what will guide them to a successful program. So we have e-learning materials, we have videos. Again, I would like to just shout out the customer success team because that's really our bread and butter. We're with clients from implementation, kickoff, all the way through go live, whether that means a fully operational proctored test or if they just want to go through the JTA and item writing. We're there just to really support them, walk with them hand in hand, answer any questions, make sure that they are seeing their program to full fruition, however they see that. If that includes integrations with other technology, if they need to bring in more people and get admin training for their program specifically to have better support. I just don't see a downside to any program that can use self-service tools.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess the bottom line is all of them.
All programs, check all.
All programs. And if you're, if you've done this is not your first rodeo, some simple training from the customer success manager on how to use this specific tool or whatever tool you're using, and then you go. But some others may need some more curated training in specific areas, or even just understanding the industry as a whole and what is a JTA? Why are we doing a JTA? And starting from there. So as long as we have those capabilities in place to offer all size programs and starting from scratch and fully developed ones, as long as we're here to support you, I guess any size program, any kind of program is well suited to self-service.
Yeah, Abby, there was a comment in the chat. Thank you, Jim. So just talking about self-service would be particularly good for rapidly evolving programs. I think that's a really good point. Just in my experience, working with IT specific certifications where the technology is changing truly day to day and they're needing to update items on a very consistent basis. It's not even at a 6 month or a 1 year checkpoint. It's more like once a month they may need to go in and, have new items written. It's so easy for the admins to, pull in a SME, say, I need you to write to this topic to, fulfill my blueprint. And they can make those updates. They can move forward. They can do an operational beta. They can do ungraded items on the test, and everything just keeps flowing very smoothly. So I think that's a great point. So thank you for bringing that up, Jim.
Yeah, you're right. I mean, particularly in tech, it's you need to update those test items more frequently. Um, and just being able to do that quickly, efficiently, not wait to republish, for weeks or months and being able to just set something to being live. Um, that's really key. We also had another question here. This is a good one for you, Bailey. It says, do you see any downside to giving your customers so much control? Does it make them open to making more mistakes? So have you received, I'm sure you've received some calls from customers maybe saying, help me, I don't, I did something, I don't know how to undo it, or how do I do something and I need to do it quickly. Do you see downsides, Bailey, in
I don't.
clients you've worked with?
So, for those who haven't seen the Certiverse platform, please reach out to myself, Abby, any one of us, and we're happy to walk you through it. But those who have seen the Certiverse platform, we do have stop gaps in place to ensure you're not doing anything that's truly detrimental to your program. You're going to get a warning or a message. Are you sure? Maybe a couple times just before you click and move forward. So I understand maybe some concern that you could really do something that could impact your program or your test in a significant way. But the platform is really truly designed to guide you with pop-ups and things of the like to make sure you're making decisions um, in a very smart and controlled way. And then Abby, like you said, I've received calls like, oh no, I think I did something, and it's no, you didn't. We're okay. We can move forward. You haven't ruined anything. And we can always revert back to previous, I guess,
That's a good
historic
point
things
too.
if we make
Yeah.
changes. So I don't see really any issue. I don't know if anyone feels differently.
Joe, have you ever done anything in your self-service platform that is scary
Yes.
that you had to reverse quickly?
Uh, yes, and not just with test delivery, but the we have a digital badging platform too that we use. And uh, I had put something out there, put a badge out by mistake, had the wrong template ID and the had to pull it back. And yeah, it was a problem. So yes, I issued a bunch of badges with the wrong date because I copied from a prior template, forgot to update the date. So things like that. Some things can't be fixed or reversed. You just have to live with it. Other things can. So yes, it can happen.
It can happen. We have another really good question. And Bailey, I think you flagged yourself as answering this because this is perfect for you
Mm.
to answer too. It says there's lots of other activities that make up a program, like badges or exam vouchers or something as simple as reporting. Can these be self-service too?
Yes, 100%. Um, Vouchers, I really like our voucher program, so that's what I'm going to speak to. We have the capability for you to assign partners. So if you're working with your program works with the partner who's selling your certification on your behalf, they can come in and they can also be self-service to buy vouchers. Anyone who would like to purchase vouchers from your program can also do so, and you don't have to take payment for that, which I think is in a past life that was a big need, and it really is just truly self-service. You can also set up integrations for badges in our system. Again, it's truly self-service. Again, you can just plug and play, and our system will issue those badges once the exam is completed and scored. It will also reissue badges if there's any type of recertification going on. And then over to reporting as well. All of our reporting is visible. So that's anything from delivery activity, scoring, psychometrics. What else am I missing, Abby?
Candidate
Truly, it's
information,
everything's there.
everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Um,
demographics.
Yeah.
demographics.
Mm.
Yeah. And I can't speak to other tools in the industry that are self-service. I can obviously only speak to ours because I haven't seen some of the others. But as far as our tool is concerned, it's all of those pieces are built on the same platform. And so that's why it's so important to have it all in one platform because the reporting, there's no delay in that because that's all coming from the same place. It's one data stream all the way through. So it's real-time reporting. You can pull that at any time, self-service. When it comes to the badges, the badging platforms that Bailey mentioned, I think you said, it's there. They're already integrated. So it's literally a drop-down menu for you to pick what badging provider you have, and then that's already integrated. Now, if you need to change something on the badge that you're issuing, that obviously comes from the badging provider area. And as Joe mentioned, that can you can maybe accidentally put the wrong dates on a badge or something like that.
Mm.
But as far as the self-service platform itself, you can add those integrations, change them, change what provider you want your results to go to. That can all be done self-service. And same with the voucher platform, as Bailey said, that's all self-service. You can set that all yourself. You can issue, reissue badges, pull reports on those as well, self-service, which is key. All right. If there are any other questions, feel free to enter them in the chat because we've answered, it looks like 6 questions from the audience, but there are no more open questions. We have about 1 minute, so we can answer this last question that we seeded here, which is what are the first steps to taking more control of your program? I guess it depends on where you are with your program, if you're using any self-service tools at all. Um, Joe, what are your thoughts on this?
Oh, vendor selection. You
Vendor
can
selection.
control which vendors you use, which in turn will give you more control of your program. So help yourself first with vendor selection. And then once you have the vendor in place, make sure the vendor is performing up to standards, meaning the service level agreement, and do as much as you can with the self-service capability.
Bailey, anything to add on that?
Yeah, I think really, from my perspective, to take first steps, it would be looking at the long-term vision of your program and making sure you have an end goal in place. I think sometimes working with clients, they get sometimes caught up in the semantics of all the steps that they have to take versus the long-term vision. And so knowing where your end goal is and then working backwards is sometimes a good step to take control and making sure that you're covering all your bases and you're not getting paralyzed by what step to take first.
Yeah, that's great feedback. And I think we are right at time, exactly 2:30 Eastern time. Perfect. Great timing. So please reach out to us if you want to keep the conversation going. We'd love to do that. You can find us, the 3 of us, on LinkedIn. Go ahead and search for us if we're not connected. And feel free to send us an email. And again, if you'd like to see our platform or continue the conversation, please do send us an email or reach out via LinkedIn. Thanks, everyone. Have a great afternoon.
Thanks. This was fun.
Thank you.